Yet who are to give wings yet not the skies? It is
from unrealized
the first not thy fate,
from tears
for
still
not of whom the
sincere,
sinner forsaken.
and by their
spirit
quiet
bright
and
all of
coming,
us shall be
and
filled
thy
by
house
wind
surrounded,
but hide not thy
scars.
Seek not to divide true and vain, for this hour, very middle is the closest we shall come to paradise.
Okay, so is Artemis officially a horror group now?
I could get your ex-boyfriends. I'll be there for you when you whisper.
We'll get back to this. Artemis had recently wrapped up their second world tour as a group since debuting last year, the Lunar Theory Tour, which both served as a trip down memory lane as LOONA and a hint towards the future with the release of their single Burn, which was to be included in their next EP. This album was confirmed during the European leg of the tour to be called Club Icarus, as images of album inclusions were accidentally leaked via certain shopping sites. A few days after the tour ends, fans discover a new Instagram account has been made for Club Icarus, depicting what would eventually be confirmed to be zoomed-in, cropped images of the first batch of teaser photos for the ARTMS members. Each teaser contained a description that was read out by each member, leading up to one final, clear image of Heejin, dressed in her virtual angel outfit and a pair of large white wings growing from her back. But that wasn't the only version of the image we got. We actually got another version of this image on Artemis's official account, but... yeah, that's, ominous. Immediately, I was brought back to Dreamcatcher's OOTD era, and the ARG made to promote it. The alternate account wasn't just made for releasing teasers, fans could interact with it. Okay, well, not the account itself, but in the description, at the very bottom, a link to an official Club Icarus website was found, only showing a text box for name and email next to a join button. It would be a week after the official teasers started being posted that fans would receive their first email from the Club Icarus website. The sender was simply referred to as A, likely representing Artemis, and it was addressed to O, us, OURIIs, probably also Orbit at the same time.
It's been a while. Since the burn in March, I haven't had a space to collect my thoughts. At first, everything felt terrifying and uncertain, like I was swallowed by something I couldn't fight. Then one night, I had a strange dream. There were scout wings barely clinging to my back. The sun came out and they melted away completely. I felt devastated. But suddenly, I started to rise. And when I looked back, new wings had taken their place, shining brightly with radiant light. A strange dream, yes. But after that night, something quietly reignited inside me. That's when Club Icarus began. I've been clearing the ashes of what once was, filling this space with music that may help us feel what I saw in that dream. Soon, I will be ready to share it. I hope you will be there to see it. But enough about me. How have you been?
The link attached to the bottom of the email was a form that fans could fill out, and those who did would receive a free object as an additional teaser for the album. However, it seemed that the email batches were randomly sent, and not everyone who signed up got the email. Some fans went out of their way to send the actual form attachment to other fans. This is how I got the object. And already, the story is beginning to take shape. Club Icarus is described as a haven between reality and surreality, a place for people who are hurt or lost to find comfort. The original story of Icarus in Greek mythology is a tragedy about hubris, where the titular character flew too close to the sun, his wax wings melting, and losing his life in an attempt to escape imprisonment with his father. But ARTMS would go on to state that they wish to recontextualize this story with a hopeful message, that after the burning of the wings, a rebirth can and will occur. Around the time of the deadline for the form, another email was sent.
You asked about Club Icarus. Let me tell you a bit more. It's meant for people like me, those who have faced something overwhelming and walked away feeling like they were left behind. A club for the broken. I hope it becomes a place where the burnt can gather and step into the dream I once shared with you. About that dream? Let me tell you more about it. When my wings melted in the sun, I thought everything was over. Like Icarus, too close, too far gone. But instead of falling, I hovered, weightless. Below me, a girl traced a spiral in the air, obsessed with escape. But gravity won't let her go. Then she appeared, silent, still. Everything about her whispered, goddess. Far out, someone too perfect, too composed. They called verified beauty. But I couldn't see her. Then the sky caught fire, the world, the dream, and I, all of it, burned. And with that fire, my wings came back. And when I woke up, I started building Club Icarus. Once everything is ready, will you come too? I miss you. Someone here in Korea say they might want to open Club Icarus with me. I'm meeting them today. If the conversation goes well, maybe I will see you in Seoul. Or maybe it will find you first.
It would later be confirmed that this email teased the official tracklist for the album, and now we're introduced to a third character, someone who is wanting to help build Club Icarus with A. We never really get any information about who this third character is, but for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to be referring to them as L. The message reaffirms what we just covered in the first email. A wants to create a sense of community through this club for the people who are overwhelmed and feel left behind, broken. And the goddess who appears in her dream, we can probably guess who that is. A week later, another email comes. This one I actually got this time.
I was surprised to hear that you have a dream like mine. Has it been 10 years since we first met? Or is it 9? Either way, no matter how far we are or how long it's been, somehow we are still connected. Remember I mentioned someone in Korea who interested in open Club Icarus? I met her the other day. A woman with a strange name I can't seem to recall. No matter how hard I try, I told her about the dream, about what Club Icarus might become, and I let her hear some of the music I have been working on. She closed her eyes when I spoke about the dream, looked up into space when I described the club, and when the music played, I think her eyes were holding something like tears. The meeting ended without a word about saying each other again. She just left. If I hear from her again, you will be the first to know. Right back soon. From A. Can you hear this?
So this basically confirms that whoever is writing this is one of the ARTMS girls. I like to think that it's Heejin, since she mentions, has it been 10 years since we first met? Or is it 9? That was technically when the LOONA project began with Heejin's solo debut. And as for the mystery woman, L, well, I think you could guess by the naming sense, I think she represents LOONA. The way A describes struggling to recall her name, and the reaction of tears in the woman's eyes when she listens to A's music, it felt like this represents the LOONA of the past, something difficult to remember, but is the foundation for what ARTMS becomes. That's basically confirmed by the latest email that came out a day before the album's release.
She called. I didn't think she would. I was surprised. She said she had a dream after we met. A scout world, still warm with ash, and something inside it that kept trying to be born again. A small wings, reaching out over and over until finally they flew toward her. Then she woke up and called me. So here it is. Club Icarus is coming to Seoul. Details will be posted soon on the Club Icarus Instagram. Wait for it. Will you come? If I see you again, the moment I see you, I'll cry happy tears.
Not only does this email allude to the fact that they plan on future live events for Club Icarus, it further establishes the role of A as an allegory for ARTMS. So now we can start to form a bigger picture here. A, who is allegorical to ARTMS, started to have this dream after the burn, probably related to the release of the song Burn, which inspired her to create Club Icarus as a way to build community with other people who are hurt or lost, eventually reaching contact with a mysterious woman, L, who helps build the club. We, as O, are invited to bear witness to the club's opening, and thus, the next chapter of ARTMS' storyline. And this new chapter is truly something grand for the group. As of this comeback era, Icarus is now officially the longest music video released by LOONA, trumping the original film version of Hyunjin's Around You music video. And we are going to be discussing the story within Icarus and how it pertains to ARTMS' storyline. And rather than going scene by scene, as shown in the music video, I want to discuss each topic based on how I interpreted the story. I imagine this is probably gonna get very rambly and out of order, so I highly recommend you go watch the cinematic MV first, and then come back to watch the rest of my analysis. Go ahead, pause the video, I'll wait, I don't mind. Alright, are you back? Cool, now, let's talk about Icarus. We are first shown the story of an armless bird girl who is made an outcast and a laughingstock by her village. Though her mother tells her that she will grow wings when she is 20, she also abandons the girl, leaving her to suffer through recurring nightmares of her watching her home burn while in the sky. When her wings still don't grow after 20, she goes to the village witch, which is this creepy looking bird person with a human face, super creepy, and asks them this.
어떻게 하면 엄마를 찾아 복수할 수 있나요?
So, we're only a minute in, and already this opens up several questions. Who is this bird girl? If the girl is meant to represent ARTMS, then does that make the mother the goddess who created them? And that final line, where the girl says she wants to take revenge on her mother? What does this mean for ARTMS and the goddess's relationship? We'll get back to that later. The bird symbolism is prominent throughout the MV. Kim Lip later goes on to say that many birds have lost their homes in the city, and people are paying tribute by wearing faux wings. Fun fact, by the way, this is actually based on Jaden seeing fans wear fake wings to ARTMS' concerts during the Moonshot tour last year.
I imagine endlessly, even if those imaginings often end as mere delusions or scattered within my mind. I gather the fragments of those imaginings to weave a story. In my head, I repeatedly enforce contradiction and persuasion, simulating the story over and over. This particular story began when I witnessed ARTMS fans at concert halls in New York and LA wearing toy wings. Why is it that they suddenly appear from somewhere in town, recognize each other just by wearing wings, and connect you and me together? And when the concert ends, they quietly return home, living as if hiding the fact that they belong to that group. Was it because of wounds that wings began to grow, or were the wings meant to conceal those wounds? The story continued to unravel endlessly, bringing me joy somewhere between imagination and delusion.
And this isn't the first time we've seen this in Artemis's filmography. The 5 girls from Virtual Angel who were worshipping and emulating the group were also wearing fake angel wings. Icarus is a direct sequel to last year's release, referencing the 5 girls' disappearance.
1년 전 5명의 소녀들이 흔적도 없이 사라졌다.
We also get quite possibly one of the most low-key disturbing scenes in any LOONA music video, when a group of hunters dressed in white start shooting a bunch of birds, matched with scenes of winged men and even Haseul falling in darkness. These men were actually seen briefly in the Burn music video, and for me personally, I was also brought back to the antlered men in Virtual Angel. This is painting a clear picture in my mind. The birds are allegorical for societal outcasts, the Artemis fanatics who dress in alternative clothing, the men who also bear the iconography of the goddess and her angels, the armless bird girl, people who society deem as imperfect. These bird hunters use fake birds as lures, artificial images of what they as society deem as desirable birds, and shoot down the outcast for sport. You could read into this one scene in so many ways, even as far as to argue how it reflects idol culture and abusive companies. The outcasts of society find community within each other, within Club Icarus, honoring the people who have lost themselves to societal pressure. After the bird girl story, we are shown Choerry having witnessed another bird falling to their death. Though we don't see what led up to it, just from the context clues of the smoking car, how the person fell, and Choerry witnessing all of this from above, it heavily implies that this was an act of suicide. Some people have also drawn parallels to a Japanese film called Blue Spring, and a scene which a character named Kujo witnesses the death of another character, Aoki, who fell from the rooftop playing a suicidal game. It's possible that other birds who haven't been directly shot down by society would succumb to their own nihilism and despair over reality and take their own lives. It paints a deeply tragic and sadly very real picture of certain societal cultures, especially Asian countries like Korea and Japan. Even when we see the apartment the Artemis girls presumably live in, or at least have currently taken up residence in, the trash scattered around makes it feel almost like the home of a shut-in, with the term hikikomori referring to a real-life phenomenon in Japan where youths who feel pressure by society shut themselves out from the world. So, where does that leave Artemis? While we see them as virtual angels that create a sense of comfort for the fans, we've also seen in Birth that they were at their lowest points, all before the goddess became their savior and they were reborn as Artemis. And if the story of the bird girl is meant to reflect Artemis's relationship with the goddess, why would they suddenly want to take revenge on the very person who saved them? Well, I've done some thinking, and I believe I've reached an answer to this. In the midst of the Moonshot European tour, we got an interlude video that focused on the savior character, showing once again the 5 worshippers of Artemis. This video also had text accompanying it, which when translated from French to English, it reads,
"O traveler of the blue sky, are you death?" I said, "or are you alive?"
Every new piece of information we receive about the goddess seems to contradict each other. At first, in Birth, she is this ominous being made of pure light, appearing only before Jinsoul and Heejin, the latter said to have been searching for her.
어디 그렇게 가세요? 이거는 아르테미스의 본체를 찾으러 떠나는 여행.
But in Virtual Angel, she is called a savior, summoned by the call of the fans to manifest the virtual angel Artemis into reality. And now here in Icarus, she's a target of vengeance. So, which is it? Is the goddess good or evil? Does Artemis love her or hate her? Well, what if both are true? What if just as much as the goddess is their savior, she is also the source of immense pain for them? There's an anime I want to talk about that I think demonstrates this exact idea, that someone in a toxic or abusive relationship can feel both love and hatred for the person who is causing them pain. That anime is Revolutionary Girl Utena. Utena is an anime about a lot of things. On the surface, it's an anime about a cross-dressing girl who forms a deeply intimate relationship with one of her schoolmates, Anthe, and fights in a bunch of duels with the student council with the goal of obtaining the power to revolutionize the world. However, it's also a story about trauma, abuse, complex morality, sexuality, identity, and toxic relationships, all wrapped up in a strange, surreal world where half the time it feels like the creator is trolling the viewer. And sometimes they actually are. Practically every character in Utena is putting on a performance for someone else, including the audience itself. We are introduced to these characters and come to know them as one specific thing, but as time passes, more and more of their inner complexities are revealed to us, and by the final episode, these characters have grown past the roles they were playing and now feel like actual people, rich and contradictory in the best ways possible. The show's director, Ikuhara Kunihiko, is well known for this surreal style of storytelling, and he, as well as several people who worked with him, have gone on to create similar works that utilize this heavily surreal and symbolic style, such as Maoru Penguin Drum, Yurikuma Arashi, and Revue Starlight. All of these shows highlight the growing complexity of these characters as well as a deeper meta-commentary on their worldviews. Basically, I like to imagine that in another universe, Ikuhara and Jaden Jung became best friends and worked together to make LOONA the anime a reality. Just as the ARTMS characters and the bird girl have a deeply complex relationship with their mother, the goddess, ARTMS the real-life group have a deeply complex relationship with LOONA. All at once, LOONA is a dream being realized, a found family, and yet it was also a prison where a lot of pain and sadness was endured. And it is entirely possible for both of these things to be true. Yes, the girls went through something terrible together and were hurt and abused by a company who was manipulating everyone just to get a quick buck. But they still talk fondly about their time spent as a group and want to reclaim the opportunity to perform again, even if the circumstances have changed. It is completely possible for you to be hurt by someone and yet still care about and love them. Is love something sweet, or is it something cruel? They coexist. Remember that French text I mentioned earlier from the Savior interlude video? That's from a poem called Apparition by Victor Hugo. Are you death, or are you life? When asked this, the angel responds,
I am love.
Love is sweet as it is cruel. You can love someone and still be hurt by them. And I'm not saying that any of the LOONA members do or should still care about the people at BBC who abuse them. Hell no! What I am trying to say is that they can still hold fond and pleasant memories from their time as a group, alongside the painful and sad memories of what they had to endure under the company. If those memories couldn't coexist, if the hurt was simply too much, they wouldn't still be making music and wanting to reunite again. And if the opposite were true, they would have never left the company. There's a reason why I showcased the final scene of the Utena TV series in my LOONA retrospective video. Anthe Himemiya is also an abuse survivor. Anthe as a character is introduced as someone entrenched in the role of the Rose Bride, a prize to be won, a princess to be saved and possessed by someone else. But as we get to know her, we see she's not as innocent and demure as we were led to believe. She is as damaged as she is selfish. Her actions in the past directly led into the cycle of abuse she and her brother Akio have trapped themselves in, where she must continually submit to someone else and martyr herself for the sake of a corrupt system. Yet, Utena doesn't fully save her in the end. Utena, who, before this point, played the role of the aspiring prince, naively and selfishly wanting to save Anthe as a way to reaffirm her own wish to become a prince, has now both metaphorically and literally been stabbed in the back by the person she had gotten closest to. She's told over and over again that a girl like her cannot revolutionize the world. Beaten and broken, she's forced to watch Anthe martyr herself and suffer for the upteenth time in her life. She forces herself back to her feet, ignores the nihilism of Akio and his worldview, lets herself become vulnerable before Anthe, and when she finally manages to create an opening to connect with her, Utena simply reaches out her hand, waiting and wanting for Anthe to reach back. Anthe is the one who has to make the choice to reach out for her. Anthe is the one who makes the final decision to break the cycle of abuse and leave Akio. Utena no longer exists in the world because she decided to stop playing Akio's game, and Anthe follows after her. Anthe only stayed in this toxic cycle of abuse and pain for so long because she still loved her brother, and on some level, she believed she deserved this fate. But when Utena showed her kindness, created a safe space for her, to let her be vulnerable, she gained the courage to leave that cycle. To quote therapist Jonathan Decker, the pain of staying the same became more than the pain of changing for Anthe. Likewise for LOONA, after Chu left, they chose that rather than staying with the company that was abusing them, they all chose to leave. But right now, in the context of the story of ARTMS, the goddess, mother, savior, is both Artemis's creator and also a neglectful parent. For what is a goddess but a mother to her creations? It's also very likely that the bird hunters we talked about before could have an added layer to them, that they represent people who use religion and virtue as a front to literally put down other people they deem as societal outcasts. ARTMS, as an idol group marketing themselves as virtual angels, are meant to provide a sense of comfort to these people from a harsh reality that struggles to accept them. But at the same time, it's a mean for escapism for them as well. They can play the part of angels for as long as they please, yet they can still grow resentful for their savior who granted them this rebirth. And thus, the daughter seeks revenge. Throughout the MV, we don't see the 5 members interacting at all. Heck, it even seems like Jinsoul is the most disconnected from all of them. While everyone else is investigating the TV world, Club ARTMS, and the missing girls, Jinsoul is decked out in full armor, waiting to kill the goddess herself with what I can only describe as a ruby weapon.
It's also a customizable, high-impact sniper rifle.
A what?
It's also a gun.
Let's also keep in mind that Jinsoul's attire, as well as a social media account we see Choerry observe in the apartment, is drawing a connection to Joan of Arc. For those unfamiliar, Joan of Arc was a historical figure who fought during the 100 Years' War to liberate France, claiming to have received divine visions from God. Although she was ultimately captured and burned at the stake for heresy, she was eventually recognized as a saint and hero of her time, and has since had her story retold and reimagined through several mediums, including anime, which is how I learned about her. So it could be that Jinsoul is doing something similar in this moment, wanting to liberate herself and ARTMS from the power of the goddess by killing her. But even though she seems to have succeeded, she was struck by lightning, which were done with practical effects, by the way.
진짜? 와! 이건 찐이야. 진짜? 불꽃 터졌어. 진짜로? 방패. 대박. 자기가 쏜 거에 자기가 맞은 건가? 네.
And seems like she died? It's kind of unclear. While Jinsoul's scenes are isolated from the rest of the group, we see the other 4 members switching into each other throughout the MV. Haseul's is a bit harder to place since we only see her in 2 settings, the dark space falling with the winged men during the bird hunter scene and the TV space. But we see that every time they interact with the TV, the girls switch bodies. Here's what I think is happening. Jinsoul and Haseul are acting independently from the rest of ARTMS, but the 5 have a shared goal in mind: find the goddess, their mother, and kill her. Since Choerry witnessed someone fall to their death on the same building Jinsoul spots the goddess hovering over the club patrons, Kimlip goes to stake out the area, waiting for the club to open. Once the time comes, Heejin receives the cross as a means of protection, as the cross is also on Choerry and Jinsoul's phone cases, and likely still connected to the power of the goddess, and enters the club. She's able to find one of the missing girls from Virtual Angel, but by the time Jinsoul takes the shot against the goddess, she's hit back and presumably dies, looked on by what is likely the same witch the bird girl had approached. Heejin is the only one left in the club by the time morning comes, but she's now in her Virtual Angel attire, large wings on her back, and her eyes completely darkened. Let's go back to Jinsoul for a bit. She's the one to shoot the goddess, yet she is also confronted by the goddess herself in birth. That scene almost feels like the goddess was communicating with Jinsoul, perhaps sending her a prophecy? What if this, the story of the bird girl seeking revenge on her mother, is a prophecy towards ARTMS? You'll get your wings when you turn 20 certainly reads as an adult telling a child that things will make sense when you're older. But what if it can also be interpreted as, you will gain your wings when you kill me? It becomes self-fulfilling. The goddess saving ARTMS before abandoning them. Their resentment and desire for revenge, the almost prophetic dreams of the bird girl flying over her burning village. It's classic Greek mythology. The more you try to avoid your fate, the more you are locked into it. And since ARTMS were born from the goddess's being, that shot hits Jinsoul right back. And if the ARTMS girls are all connected, 5 egos in a single being, they all feel it. Heejin becomes the bird girl, who has gained her wings after the death of her mother. It becomes a sort of ego death. She lost some part of herself and was born again. And that seems to be a theme with ARTMS. This endless cycle of rebirth and recreation of the self. How the single goddess created 5 angels. How the 5 members keep switching places with each other. It's kind of like they all share one social media account. Wait. Okay, I know this might sound like a stretch, but hear me out! Virtual Angel was the first time in years we got any direct reference to Eden, and the whole video was focused on the idea of obsessive fans worshipping the ARTMS members like real angels. Can we extend this idea of Eden being a virtual space to pre-debut lore as well as current ARTMS lore? Let's start with YYY's Eden. Eden is described as a utopian land, but we know from its depictions in the past that Eden is extremely oppressive and controlling. It's a false paradise that the YYY girls came to reject to find their true selves. The idea that Eden is so heavily filtered and manufactured to the point of oppressing those within it, or reality itself is becoming warped, doesn't that sound like it could fit in here? Compared to Triple S, however, social media's presence is a bit more subdued with ARTMS. It's a focus within Heejin's solo algorithm, but other than that, not really. Virtual Angel also refers to it as the beautiful Eden in my heart. In a sense, Eden becomes a nebulous space. This would seem to fit in with Club Icarus's concept, as it hovers between reality and surreality. As such, Club Icarus becomes something metaphysical. It could be both a physical club area and an allegory for an internet space, where people are able to connect and foster community with one another. Even if I'm wrong with the whole internet allegory, the Eden in my heart angle still makes sense. But to further expand on that allegory of the internet, we also need to address the TV world. The only person we see in the TV space is Haseul, but Choerry, Kimlip, and Heejin all interact with the TV itself. We can presume that the girls have been investigating the disappearances of the virtual angel fangirls to find the goddess. And if Choerry and Kimlip's reactions are anything to go by, it seems like the TV static is affecting their odd eyes. When we see Haseul in the TV world, everything there is made up of static. It's noise. We see what might be the shadows of the men who were shot down by the bird hunters, a doppelganger of Haseul herself, and I don't know, Mobius from Fresh Pretty Cure? We saw something similar to this giant head thing in the posters for Club Icarus too. Both this and the club scene in particular draw to mind the first 2 episodes of Serial Experiments Lain, a 1998 anime that focuses on the real world and virtual world becoming blurred as well. Lain, the main character, receives an email from a schoolmate who previously committed suicide, stating that she lives on in the Wired, which is basically their equivalent to the present-day internet, and to have found God within the virtual realm. Later, Lain joins her friends to a visit at the nightclub, where supposedly her doppelganger had appeared before. As the series goes on, Lain's perception of reality and herself is thrown into question. So the outcasts who have been put down by society, the missing girls, could be living within the TV world, the internet, in a different form. In a way, it kind of feels like a digital footprint. A record of them still exists online. Actually, considering how the visages in the TV world look like they're made of pure white light, could the goddess be made of something similar? Could she be made of this noise? Is that why she was hovering over the club area? Because the signals were being crossed? Maybe the club is a border between these spaces, which is why it's empty with only virtual angel Heejin left behind. That might also be why Kimlip turned on the car radio when she was staking it out. If that area where the club is located is a converging point between the real and virtual realms, maybe she was trying to catch something, a signal from the goddess through the radio waves. Wait, radio waves, the TV static, the noise.
TV 속으로 들어가 버렸다니까.
No matter where you are, everyone is always connected.
Oh my god. I know what this is now. This isn't just normal horror, it's... Denpa, literally meaning electronic waves, is a term often used to describe a type of subculture or subgenre in media, most notably in Japanese anime or visual novels. The term itself has a very dark and complex history, with its origins related to a murder case in Fukugawa 1981, as well as it being used to describe societal outcasts. Because of this, it's also similarly stigmatized alongside other subcultures like otaku culture. Denpa characters may even be hikikomori, or engage with nerdy interests associated with otaku culture like anime and video games, often to an obsessive degree. In modern terms as it's used in media, Denpa refers to a phenomena in which your brain is subconsciously influenced by the radio waves of technology and the internet. Thus, the genre often encompasses elements of psychological horror, as well as elements of sci-fi or science fantasy, cyberpunk, and may even delve into eldritch horror. Characters within Denpa works are often suffering from some type of mental instability or delusion that makes them out of touch with the world around them. Stories may touch upon very dark and heavy themes such as trauma, abuse, mental health, societal isolation, anxieties over modern society, and may even delve into more existential topics like the human condition and religious or cult-like themes. The title of Denpa itself is so broad that there is a lot of argument on what fully constitutes something as Denpa. And to give you an idea of how broad that is, Serial Experiments Lain, Neon Genesis Evangelion, and several works by David Lynch, all of these having been referenced or discussed in relation to Artemis, and especially now with Burn and Icarus, are considered Denpa by some people. But is ARTMS a Denpa horror K-pop group? Do they check off all the boxes? Let's review. Number 1. Characters in Denpa works may struggle with mental instability or delusions. I'm not too sure about this one. Even if we are bringing back the members as one concept for ARTMS that was originally just alluded to in YY, I personally don't really see this as ARTMS portraying someone with, say, dissociative identity disorder. This feels a lot more symbolical for the group's connection with each other than that. But there are also works in fiction that don't necessarily classify as Denpa themselves, but can still have a character who is considered Denpa. Often someone who acts a bit quirky or offbeat, doing things and saying stuff that the people around them may not fully understand. And if there's one character who I could point to as potentially being a Denpa character within ARTMS, I would argue it's Choerry. 'Cause let's really look at her journey thus far in the lore. Choerry, just like her Odd Eye Circle teammates, was once a normal schoolgirl, living a regular life, seeing her friends and spending summer vacation together. Even if she felt the remnants of her odd eye beginning to awaken, she'd repress them with eye drops. And then suddenly she sees this random cherry cake appear, eats the cherry, gets teleported away from her friends, finds a mirror in a field where her reflection gives her another cherry to eat, this time fully awakening her odd eye, and she's been inseparable with Kimlip and Jinsoul ever since. As mentioned earlier, Denpa as a term refers to someone being manipulated by electronic waves on a subconscious level. And do you guys remember what happens when OEC, particularly Jinsoul, does something? Electronics wig out. Vivi's camera gets cut off. The neon sign starts sparking. The TV in the room that Choerry was in goes to static. Heck, it was already glitching before Jinsoul even brought the cake to her. There is a lot of glitching and distortion that happens when the OEC girls get involved with something. If all of Odd Eye Circle's powers are capable of messing with technology, they and anyone around them could be susceptible to the Denpa waves subconsciously affecting their minds. This is how they see oddness in the world. And Choerry might be the most affected out of all of them, as if you focus on some of her scenes in Birth, she looks a little out of touch, doesn't she? Which is why, unlike Kimlip, who closes her eyes as she gets closer to the TV screen, Choerry keeps staring. You can see the slight twitches of her body, the world distorting around her, as she focuses so intently on the screen before it all comes too much and lip switches in. And what was Choerry's description again in the teaser? Seek not to divide truth from dream. The blurring of reality and surreality? That sounds pretty Denpa to me. Number 2. Denpa works touch upon themes of trauma, abuse, and modern anxieties such as social isolation. Yep, that hits the mark. From the lyrics of Birth describing the intense emotions of a breakup, to the story of Icarus being shown, we are definitely drawing on these themes. The goddess potentially being an abusive or neglectful parental figure, the societal outcasts literally being hunted down and shot by society itself, and the desire for connection that draws people to Club Icarus. While some Denpa works can be very nihilistic or pessimistic in terms of their endings, when exploring these themes, Icarus is meant to be a much more hopeful message, which the genre can certainly pull off, showing characters overcome their traumas to become better people. I can definitely see this being the angle that ARTMS continues to portray, as the story is still meant to reflect their real-life circumstances as LOONA to some degree. Number 3. The Denpa genre is often paired with otaku culture and obsessive fandom behavior. Yup. Virtual Angel is the obvious answer here. We literally see the fangirls who worship ARTMS like goddesses, sometimes being violent and intimidating to the camcorder girl, but also can be sweet and friendly towards her. They immerse themselves in the virtual world to be close to their angels, and perhaps, just like the characters in Lane, they give up their physical bodies to enter the virtual space in an attempt to be with them. Number 4. Denpa can delve into existential topics such as the human condition, identity, and religious or cult-like beliefs. Yup! LOONA as a whole is no stranger to these themes: Jungian psychology, transhumanism through Vivi's android backstory, Y by Y drawing upon parallels to the Garden of Eden story. ARTMS naturally continues a lot of these themes from a new lens. The girls are literally portrayed as one, connected through the goddess. And again, the cult-like worship of the members to the goddess, as well as the fangirls to ARTMS. Denpa blurs the line between reality and unreality, just like we see here. Characters may suffer from delusions or adopt cult-like beliefs, some exploring the idea of transcending the human body to reach something close to godliness. And with the constant themes of death and rebirth also at play here, it furthers the themes of self-identity, ego death, and inner divinity. Number 5. Denpa can blend multiple genres of horror and sci-fi or science fantasy, such as elements of cyberpunk or eldritch horror with psychological horror. Yup! As I talked about in my own retrospective, LOONA have always leaned into the science fantasy genre and touched upon some darker themes, but none of it was ever explicitly horror. Until ARTMS debuted. Birth created a distinctly gothic atmosphere with an unsettling composition and creepy drawings portraying the group's creation myth. Add in the imagery of Virtual Angel, especially in the original cut of the MV, focused on the obsessive nature of internet fan culture, and the expansion of the storyline within Icarus, ARTMS combines elements of psychological, analog, cyberpunk, and surreal horror. So yeah, that's 4 out of 5, maybe 5 out of 5 if we go with the theory of Choerry being a Denpa character in the lore. Honestly, ARTMS becoming a horror-themed group at all is already kind of amazing, even though I'm personally not a huge horror fan. But if this turns out to be true, if Jaden is tapping into a super niche subgenre of Japanese culture as inspiration for ARTMS' storyline, I'm actually really curious to see where this could go next. It really makes me happy to see something like this from ARTMS, and really LOONA in general. This music video really lives up to the title of cinematic, as it's so rich with potential lore speculation. Even as I'm writing this, new ideas and discussions have come about. But putting aside all the talk about horror tropes and psychology and symbolism, the message of the song is beautiful. ARTMS as a group has constantly been exploring themes of transformation and rebirth, honoring the legacy that came before them while allowing themselves to become something new and unique from their past. We're starting to see them lean into more mature feelings and themes of young women their age, the pressures of modern society, the fear of isolation, the pain that comes with changing your very self. It's bittersweet, but it's also beautiful. It is both sweet and cruel. Both of these things can be true. Whatever is next for ARTMS and for the rest of LOONA, I hope they can keep moving forward. Stay as is, even if their form changes. Hey guys, it's Ruka here. Thank you for watching the video. This is really exciting for me. Ever since last year I did my LOONA retrospective analysis video, I've been wanting to do more analysis type videos like this. And this was so exciting. Like literally since the Icarus cinematic MV came out, there have just been so many ideas racing in my head. I really wanted to get this out to you guys as soon as possible. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this, and feel free to share your own thoughts and theories about what you think of my interpretation of things or what your personal interpretation is. In the future, I would definitely love to do another longer form analysis for another group that I really like, possibly Dreamcatcher. That's like the main one that's on my mind right now. But yeah, hope you guys did enjoy this, and look forward to more content that we'll put out in the future. I'll try to get back started on the Idolmaster series since I took kind of a break for that with the ARTMS release coming out. But yeah, I will see you guys then. So until next time, bye bye!